Hi guys, Steve here in Palm Springs. Today I'm taking an impromptu walk near downtown Palm Springs. I didn't do any preparation. I didn't look at any of my guidebooks. I have a few different celebrity home guidebooks that I usually look through before I take my walks in certain areas just to see if there are any celebrities living in the neighborhood. Well, this morning I was planning just to take my walk in the neighborhood where I live, but as I've mentioned in previous walks, this is spring and it's very windy. I was planning to walk with my neighbor Jeff, but he texted me just a little while ago and said he decided to sleep in and he wasn't going to walk today. So I thought, well, you know what, let me just come downtown and do a walk where there's no wind. It's also Memorial Day weekend, and I've been looking to see if there's anything going on. There's a few events, but really not much, unfortunately. So as I walk around, I may just walk around downtown and see if there's anything going on that I can share with you. So I thought I would start right here. I'm parked on El Alameda. I'm just right almost at the corner of Palm Canyon and El Alameda. This neighborhood here is called OLD LAS Palmas, and there's a church right here that I've probably walked by 100 times over the years, maybe 1,000 times. Definitely driven by it many times, just never even noticed it. I think it's called Church of St. Paul in the Desert. Apparently it's been here forever. This is one of the oldest neighborhoods here in Palm Springs. And California Dad, or Caliph Dad 4, left me a comment saying that the last time he was here, I think he said he was with his cousin or his uncle who lives here in Palm Springs, and he was driving around this neighborhood and telling him that lots of famous people used to live in this neighborhood and still do. And so when he left me that comment, I was like, well, what church is that? And so I Googled it and was kind of shocked when I saw on the map that it was just right here. So I was very curious to come and see what it looked like up close and personal. And of course, there's someone there mowing the lawn, but I'm going to get out of my car in a minute. Hopefully he'll finish with the lawn mowing. Online, there were pictures, and it looks like there's a really beautiful, looks like a mural on the side of one of these buildings. I don't see it from here. So I'm going to walk around the church and see if I can find that mural. And then I'm just going to walk around town. I'm just going to walk around this neighborhood, maybe walk downtown. I don't have anything pre-planned. I'll probably walk 3-4 miles, maybe 5 miles, and just answer some of your questions and show you some of the sites. This one is definitely going to be a new site for me. So I'm excited to see something that I had no idea that was even here. Even though I've driven by it 100 times, I guess I wasn't paying attention and I never even noticed it was here. So thank you, Caliph Dad, for giving me a heads up about a site right here in Palm Springs that I had no idea was here. This is sometimes called the Beverly Hills neighborhood of Palm Springs. The first question I'm going to try to answer this morning while I'm walking around came from Norma Hurd. Hi, Norma. Norma has been leaving me comments and watching my videos on both channels almost since day one. So I think Norma is one of my very first channel subscribers. And Norma asked me a question that I'm surprised I don't get more often. She left a comment asking, how did Palm Springs become such a gay-friendly town? So as I walk around, I'm going to talk about that and give you a little bit of the history of how Palm Springs became one of the most gay-friendly cities in the world. So just to give you an idea of where I'm starting my walk today, I'm right here in the corner of El Alameda and Palm Canyon Drive. And the church is right behind Trina Turks. And when I was driving here just now, I noticed this kind of looks like a cross, doesn't it? It's like, what kind of a sculpture is this? Was this originally a fountain or something? I don't remember. But it almost looks like a bunch of crosses. But kind of an interesting sculpture. All right, so here's the church. Oh, there's the the mural. I've never seen that before. It's so fun walking around, finding things that I've never seen before. And if it wasn't for Caliph Dad, who knows if I ever would have found this mural or this church. Right, Church of St. Paul in the Desert. That's really nice. So okay, so they've got a Facebook page and a regular. Oh, look at that! They even have an Instagram page. I don't do Facebook, but I do Instagram. I do have an Instagram channel, as some of you know. All right, so let me go around and show you the front here. Church of St. Paul in the Desert, Episcopal, established 1939. So the city was established in 1938. So yeah, this has been here. Looks like it's probably been renovated, but it looks like it's been here since the first year the city was incorporated. And how I could walk and drive by this building for well, decades, and never really even noticed that it was here is beyond me. I have no idea. But, sometimes I guess you get focused on something and you're not paying attention to other things. You're so laser focused. Oh, well, this is interesting. So I had no idea they had. Now, I don't know if these are niches, cremation niches. They look like it. Let's see if I recognize any names, any famous names here. Do any of you recognize any of these names? If so, share with us in the comments. All right, here's another one. Wow, quite a few. Well, I guess when you think since they've been here since 1939. Okay, I don't recognize any of these names. Boy, more. Gosh, lots. All right, so maybe what I'll do instead of showing you each one, I'm gonna look at each one, and I'll stop if I recognize any names, any famous names. Memorial Garden. I had no idea this was here. Wow. Now I wonder, since this is Memorial Day weekend, I wonder if any of these names represent veterans who lost their lives in wars. I mean, that's really what this weekend is about, is remembering those who lost their lives in various wars. So without even realizing it, this is one of the perfect place to visit for Memorial Day weekend. Okay, I guess the guy with the lawnmower is now just trimming bushes, so it's not quite as noisy. Craig Ewing, I guess. All right, this is for a future final resting place. Gosh, I really can't believe I had no idea this was here. Wow, an entire hallway here. That's amazing. So someone left a comment recently asking me who my favorite artist is. I'll have to check my comments, see if I can find the person's name. Wow, look at this. So I just checked my comments, and Diane Lipson left a comment a while back asking me who are my favorite Palm Springs artists. My favorite artists are Andy Warhol and Keith Haring. They've always been my favorite artists. Well, both men were gay, so that made me love their work even more. So those are my two favorite artists as far as Palm Springs artists. My favorite Palm Springs artists, they're all street artists. Artists like this who do public art. This is my favorite type of art. I really like this kind of art even more than Andy Warhol and Keith Haring, although Keith Haring really was a street artist. So for some reason, I just love street art. And we have lots of murals like this all over Palm Springs. Lavera, Berhan, Oris, Bernard Hoyas, 2018 to 19, Reverend A. Green inspired. The sun's very bright on this side of the wall. Let's see what it says over here on this side. Bernard Hoyas, Broff, Rites of Passage. Okay, so I guess it's called Rites of Passage, and I'm assuming this is the artist. 2019. Okay, so pretty recently. Looks like Native Americans, cowboys, movie stars, playing tennis, swimming pools, and I don't know, maybe these are people well known within the community, although that looks like, what's her name, the tennis player, and that looks like Martin Luther King. Pretty nice, right? Well, I think I'll walk in the neighborhood here. I think I'll, at least for a while, and then I'll probably swing back to the downtown area. All right, so it's a pretty large parking lot here. All right, so this marker up here says OLD LAS PALMAS, and this is the section of the neighborhood that's closer to downtown. I have walked in this neighborhood a couple of times and shown you other homes off in that direction there, but this is more of the southern part of OLD LAS PALMAS. A lot of old Spanish homes here. So I'm going to be on the lookout today for any plaques. any historic plaques or celebrity plaques. Let me just walk up this street here. I know one of these homes was supposed to be owned by Elizabeth Taylor. I don't know if it was this one here or if it's the one on the other side of the street, but again, today's just random. I only really know of one home that has a plaque on it from the last time I was walking in this neighborhood years ago. So I haven't walked in this part of the neighborhood in quite a few years. So this is nice. So they've got the flags out for Memorial Day weekend. This is an extra wide street here. There are only a couple like this here. Isn't this gorgeous? But no historic plaque that I can see. All right, so as I'm walking, let me talk a little bit. Let me get back to Norma Hurd's question about how did Palm Springs become a gay mecca or become so gay friendly? What caused that? Well, there are a couple of things. Back in the 1920s and 30s, Palm Springs was a very, very small desert town. Not a lot of people lived down here, and it's only about 100 miles east of Los Angeles, and it only takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get here from Los Angeles, so it's relatively close. But way back then, now it probably took longer then because there were no freeways coming out here, but still, it still was pretty close. And there was I don't know when the airport, there probably wasn't even an airport back then, back in the 1920s and 30s. So you probably had to drive. It probably took a few hours to get out here, but still relatively close to LA and Hollywood. And very small, very secluded, very few people were here. So the first group of gay people who moved down here were artists. This was known as an artist colony. Lots of well-known artists move here because it's very beautiful place to paint and draw. Lots of, especially if they were into nature and landscapes. And it was just very remote, very cheap, very, very, very affordable place to live. You just probably just pitch a tent and live down here. I think a lot of them did, or they would build their own little cabins and things. And so this was back at the very beginning when people first started to notice Palm Springs as just a beautiful place to live most of the year. I mean, most of the year it's not, we don't get the 100+ degree temperatures. Most of the time it's like this. I'm here in my t-shirt. It's 70 degrees. It's about 6:30, almost, it's probably 7 o'clock by now in the morning, and very beautiful, very pleasant day in spring. And so all of the artists started coming down here and kind of put it on the map a little bit. And then a couple of hotels opened up here and started attracting some of the celebrities and movie stars from Hollywood. At the time of the studio system, where all of the movie stars worked for the Hollywood studios, the studios dictated what they could do, even in their private lives. In the 20s, things were pretty open, and there was actually quite a lot of freedom when it came to movies. And because of that, I guess artists, actors and directors and writers just kept pushing the envelope, and the movies started to become very sexual, lots of nudity. Most of the actors who were gay were pretty openly gay at the time, and nobody really cared. It wasn't a big deal, you know, among the Hollywood crowd and the studios. But what happened was, like what always happens when it comes to freedom, politicians and so-called religious leaders, they don't like freedom. And so Hollywood started being attacked as being not family friendly, and the studio heads, all they cared about was the money, of course. And when politicians and the so-called religious individuals and groups started boycotting and picketing the movies because of sexual content and content that they didn't feel was appropriate for families, then the studios cracked down, and in the contract, the studios added a morals clause that in effect allowed the studios to fire you, terminate your contract, your studio contract, if you were an actor who was caught doing anything that would be objectionable to the studios or the public, and that included things like sex and nudity, and especially gay sex. And so gay people had to really go back in the closet if they wanted to keep their jobs. And most of them did. And of course, most everyone did. I mean, that's how you make your living. That's how you support yourself. And so gay people started going back in the closet, where they had quite a bit of freedom back in the 20s, the roaring 20s. It was being gay was not much of a stigma, at least among, the Hollywood crowd and people who believe in freedom. So getting back to the Hays Code and the Morals Clause, and so at that time in the 1930s, if you were an actor living in Hollywood, you had to really go undercover. You had to go underground. You had to be secretive. You had to go back in the closet or stay in the closet. The press was everywhere. And so if you went out to bars or restaurants or wherever, you were scrutinized. Well, when they started coming down here to Palm Springs, they realized they could come here to Palm Springs and not be scrutinized. And there really weren't that many people here back in the day. So the stars had a lot more freedom to be themselves and to do what they wanted and to go out in public and not be scrutinized by the press. I think they also kind of had agreement with the existing press, which wasn't really much of a press at the time, but whatever newspapers they had here at the time and magazines, I think they were happy to have all the celebrities here in town. And this is a 1960s mid-century modern condo development. It's called the Morito Manor Historic District. Rather than read this to you, just go ahead and pause it, and I'll see if I can get real close so you can pause it and read it yourself. Yeah, these are really nice. Now, again, this is one of the most exclusive neighborhoods here in Palm Springs, so I'm guessing these, even though these are condos, they're probably $1 million or more, or close to that, I would guess. I mean, I could be wrong, but this neighborhood is just so expensive, the homes and lots and everything. These have to be close to $1 million, if not more. And these are just condos. There's a pool in the center. And we're just a couple blocks from the downtown district. Oh, another pink door. Look at that. Although it's hard to see with the sun shining this way. All right, so where was I? I was talking about... Oh yeah, so I think there was also something where the studios said when you were under contract, you couldn't live anywhere further than 100 miles from Hollywood, or maybe you couldn't be away from Hollywood. You had to be less than 100 miles away so you could be back to the studio to work whenever they needed you. And so Palm Springs just happened to be about 100 miles away. So it was just kind of an ideal place where celebrities could come. Now, many of the celebrities went up to Santa Barbara and the beach, but I'm guessing that was probably a lot more expensive. The beaches are usually more expensive. The desert, here in the desert back in the 1920s and 30s wasn't like it is today. It was just getting started. And there were a couple of hotels. The Desert Inn in downtown Palm Springs was very popular. And then there was the El Mirador Hotel that I've mentioned in previous videos, where all the celebrities came to stay. So a lot of the early gay celebrities found that they could come here, stay in hotels, go out in public, and there just weren't very many people here, so they didn't have to be hounded by people looking for autographs. They didn't have to be hounded by the press reporting everything they did and who they were with. That's when these hedge homes started. The celebrities moved down here to homes with pools, with huge hedges around, so they had total privacy, so they could do whatever they wanted with whomever they wanted, and nobody was the wiser. So that's how, look at this pink house. This is another home that I haven't really noticed. So the town, I think I had read over the years that the press was very, very friendly to the gay community, because the attitude here was live and let live. It was an artistic community, and the people who lived here were very supportive of the arts of all kinds. This is new, or at least new to me. I haven't seen this sculpture, which is nice, but I'm still Really digging this pink Spanish estate here. No plaque though, unfortunately. Look at this cool, not sure what that is, but it really looks cool. Maybe it's not anything, it's just an abstract sculpture. I'll get a little closer here and see. 222 Chino Drive. Okay, I'll have to look and see if that home belonged to anybody. Liberace's house is just around the corner. I'll walk around the block and come back and show you Liberace's former home, one of his former Palm Springs homes. So once gay actors and musicians and entertainers realized that it was very gay friendly here and there was a lot of privacy and they weren't going to be hounded and outed by the press, it just grew and grew and grew over the years, and that's how it became one of the most gay-friendly cities in the world. When you think about it, so many people in Hollywood, not just the actors and the directors, but all of the behind-the-scenes people, the writers and the production people, so much of Hollywood has always been very, very gay, that it would just make sense that they would all flock down here once they realized how friendly it was. Now, I read that Greta Garbo was one of the first gay celebrities who came down here and spent a lot of time and ended up bringing a lot of her Hollywood friends down here with her. Back in 1936, she even had the opening. She was MGM's biggest star at the time, and she insisted, from what I read, that the opening of Camille, her classic Hollywood film, that the premiere take place down here at the Plaza Theater. And I've shown you the Plaza Theater before. Maybe I'll walk, I don't know if I'm going to be walking down that far today, but it's under construction right now. They're renovating it, and it should be really awesome when they open it back up in a year or so. So it was directed by gay director George Cukor, and at the premiere, lots of Hollywood celebrities were here, gay and straight. Now, William Haynes, that name may be familiar to some of you. I visited his gravesite up in Santa Monica. I think Woodside or Woodlawn, I can't remember the name of the cemetery. And I visited his gravesite, 4, 5, 6 years ago. He was openly gay. He was an openly gay actor. Back in the 1930s, he was one of the most popular actors. I think he was probably the #1 actor. I forget the year, like sometime in the 1930s up in Hollywood, but he was openly gay and refused to be in the closet. So when the studios clamped down and forced all of the actors to go back in the closet or lose their jobs, he decided to leave Hollywood, leave acting, and he got into interior design. And so, he'd already made, I think, around 50, that's cute, 50 movies in Hollywood. And like I say, he was extremely popular. He was, I think, the most popular actor in Hollywood at the time. That's really nice. Casasita. His best friend was Joan Crawford, and he started doing the interiors of her home. And before he knew it, he was the most famous interior designer in Hollywood. So not only did he have an incredible acting career, but when he refused to go back in the closet, he was able to do that because he had so many Hollywood friends who couldn't care less about the fact that he was gay. Since many of them also had second homes down here in Palm Springs, William Haynes spent a lot of time here in the desert and designed some of the most spectacular homes and estates here in this neighborhood, since this was one of the most popular neighborhoods for Hollywood celebrities at the time, and the movie colony, which is just a couple blocks away. So William Haynes has a big place in gay Palm Springs history as well. You know what? I'm going to take a walk through the cemetery here. I haven't walked in the cemetery in quite a long time. And since it is Memorial Day weekend, let's just go take a walk. And they even have the gate open today. Let's go take a walk and remember some of these veterans. So this is the Wellwood Murray Cemetery. Just go ahead and pause the video if you want to read this. So a while back, I visited with Marsh up on the side of the hill. You may remember we went on the tour of the house, which was incredible, the Albert Frey house. Well, Albert Frey, one of the most famous mid-century modern designers or architects, is buried here in the cemetery. So for those of you who love mid-century modern architecture, you may want to come and visit Albert Frey the next time you're in Palm Springs. The cemetery is just basically downtown, just a block off of Palm Canyon, and you can even see the Hyatt Hotel right there. So this is an incredible location. The cemetery is pretty much full. These were all pioneers, or early people who got in. And there's someone else, I think I've shared this on my other channel, but I don't think I've shared it on this channel. So let me see if I can find their grave sites. I think they're over here. I've told you about my grandparents' friends, Hugh and Maureen Young. Okay, so these were the Youngs' parents, Walter and Veda. They had homes here in Palm Springs early on. So Hugh was their son, and Maureen. So Maureen died first. She died in 1995, and what an awesome person. She was one of the best artists I've ever seen. Just incredible artist. She was amazing. She made these beautiful, beautiful realistic portraits. And her husband, Hugh Young, they were my grandparents' closest friends for decades, and they're the reasons my grandparents moved to Palm Springs, because Hugh and Maureen Young and Hugh's parents, Walter and Veda, they owned homes here back probably from the 30s and 40s. And the Youngs, Hugh and Maureen, are the couple who bought Frank Sinatra's home, his Twin Palms home here in Palm Springs, when he sold and decided to move to Rancho Mirage, to the country club. Was it the Tamarisk Country Club? Or I think it was Tamarisk. And that's where he lived until he died. But early on, when he lived here in Palm Springs at Twin Palms, the house called Twin Palms, when he sold in 1953, he sold it to the Youngs, and they lived there until they died. So what was that, around 40 years, 4 decades they lived in that home. Today it's owned by, I don't know if it's an individual or a company. I think it's a company. And let me just pan around so you can kind of see where they're located. And the company uses it as a celebrity home rental. So you can rent it and you can stay there yourself. And people get married there. They have events there, weddings, all kinds of different things are held there. Or you can just stay there. And you can find it online if you're interested and if you're wealthy enough to be able to afford to stay there. The other day I was looking at some old photos, or I found some old photos of Hugh and Maureen Young with my grandparents, and they were at Frank Sinatra's house. I mean, they were living there, and I think it said 1955, so I think maybe they'd already been there, living there for a couple of years. If I remember, I'll stick them in here so you can see Hugh and Maureen Young. Now, actually, I think Maureen was taking all the pictures, so she's not in those pictures, but I do have other pictures of her, and so I'll try to remember to share that here, just in case you're interested. I always found it so interesting that they were the reason my grandparents moved to Palm Springs in the first place. They were the ones who discovered it long before my grandparents did. And I think a couple of you asked how my grandparents ended up here. And so I'll see if I can find those comments too, to give you a little shout out. So thanks for asking that question. And that's how they ended up here. They were friends with Hugh and Maureen Young up in Los Angeles, and the Youngs owned homes down here before purchasing Frank Sinatra's home. They already lived here, but then when it came on the market, I guess they just jumped at the chance to purchase it, and they bought it and lived there very happily. And it was fun going there as a kid, knowing that Frank Sinatra had lived there with Ava Gardner, and I had read recently that one of the reasons he sold it was because of the tumultuous relationship he had had with Ava Gardner, and he just wanted to get away from that location and go to a different house after, I think, were they married, and then they got a divorce, and then he decided to move, something like that. So I don't know, some of you will probably know. So anyway, but let's see, since it's Memorial Day weekend, let me take a look at some of the grave sites with the flags. Okay, so this flag is because he was a veteran, but he lived to 2006, so he didn't die in the war. I'm curious if any of these flags are for fallen soldiers who actually died. That's really what Memorial Day signifies. It's Veterans Day is for all veterans, to remember all veterans, and Memorial Day is to remember those who gave their life in service to the country. Now, last week, I think it was last week when I visited Morton's Botanical Garden, I mentioned that Cactus Slip, Chester Morton, and his wife, I think I mentioned that they were buried here. And so pioneer botanist, historian, Patricia Morton. So she died in 2010. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that she outlived him by so many years. He died in 1980, but he was born in 1905. She was born in 1920, so there was a 15-year difference between them. And these look new. I've been here, I've filmed their grave sites, their headstones years ago, and I don't remember them being looking like this. These are larger and nicer, and you can read their names. That's nice. They're keeping up their headstones. So let's see. Yeah, so Charlie Farrell, actor Charlie Farrell, who was also mayor of Palm Springs back in, what did I say, the 50s, I think, 40s, 50s, before Sonny Bono, and his wife, Virginia Valley. She was also an actress. She died in 1968, so she died before him. All right, so let me go to the flags. Let me just stay focused, because there are a lot of famous people buried here too, but I'll visit them in another video. And I already have visited some of them already. Okay, George Streb Sr. He died, Joseph Henderson died in 1994. Oh, can you hear that leaf blower? I think that's at the golf course next door. I knew there would have to be a leaf blower, but at least he's not right here in the cemetery, which is what usually happens. So rather than film each of these, I'm going to go and just walk by and see if there are any who died during service. So Shirley Burton, she was born in 1905 and died in 1950, so she was only 45 years old. I don't know if she died during a war. I mean, World War II was over, so I don't know if she died during her service or not. Okay, Henry Evans. Okay, he was younger than her, so there's a likelihood. Well, 1955 though he died, and he was born in 1914, so he was quite a bit younger. But I don't know, were there any wars in 1955? The Korean War? Well, it says World War II. So I don't know. My history, I'm not a huge not a huge war history buff. So maybe some of you will know. Okay, Bobby Moore, Vietnam, World War II and Vietnam. Okay, well, he lived into his 60s, and died in 1988. I know the Vietnam War was definitely over long before 1988. Quite a few died in 1950s. It just seems to me that that was during the Korean War, but they don't mention the Korean War on these headstones. So this is really interesting. Edgar Rushing died in 1954. It says World War II. That's a helicopter, probably going to the hospital, the Desert Regional Hospital nearby. And then Agapito, Velasquez died in 1953, World War I. Okay, so now this one here, Russell Torres, World War II and Korea. He died in 1951. I don't know what BSM and PH is. He was born in 1926, so he was very young, so it's very likely he did die during the war, one of the wars. Korean War, I'm guessing, 1951. And Arlene Dixon, World War II, 1921 to 1953. Gosh, so many people died in 1953. Guillermo Fontes, born in 1929 and died in 1956. So again, he died very young. He was in the Army. Dustin Johnson, born in 1988 and died in 2011. It's very possible he died during one of the wars, one of the more recent wars. But it's nice to remember all of the veterans, even on Memorial Day. And it's really nice that the cemetery or a group here, someone or some group has taken the time to place these flags for Memorial Day weekend. I think sometimes we forget what Memorial Day is for. We all have barbecues and parties, which is nice. But it's also nice to remember the veterans who made it possible for us to have those barbecues and parties. Something we definitely take for granted, and I think though recently it's becoming all too clear that those are the type of things we can't really take for granted. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk this direction over here, and I know one block over is a street that does have a famous plaque, and I'm going to tell you about that. I actually posted a video of that house and the plaque and said that she lived there, and one of her relatives said no, she never really lived there. It was owned by the family, and the family owned the house, and I think they stayed there, but they said she didn't own the house. It wasn't her house. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what someone said. They left me a comment that I made. This was a video I shared on the other channel quite a few years ago. I think it was probably back in, I don't know, about 5-6 years ago. So this is the corner of Potencio and Morito. And I'm going to walk down here and show you a home. All right, so it says Lily Pad, former home of comedian extraordinaire Lily Tomlin, established 2003. Now, you know, it says this is the former home of Lily Tomlin, so I don't know why her relatives sent me a comment. You know, maybe maybe the comment really didn't come from her relatives. They said she never really lived here, that this was just a home owned by her relatives, and she used to stay here. So, you know, who knows? You know, that's the thing with online information. You never know with social media what's correct, what's not correct. But Lily Tomlin and Jane Wagner, they have a store just down the street from here. Everybody's out walking this morning, walking their dogs, getting exercise. Let me get a selfie here, if I can. The sun is kind of in a weird position. So if anyone knows for sure if Lily Tomlin really lived here or not, share with us in the comments. I'm going to walk up the street and show you her star. Lily's and her partner, her wife, Jane Wagner. They've been together for, gosh, what, 30, 40, 50 years, I think. Oh, I didn't realize they had a little thing here, a little grass, I guess a little place for selfies, right? All right, let me get a selfie. Hashtag Palm Springs Trio. Have to get a little ways here. Am I like the only 70-year-old who does selfies for Instagram? Probably. I don't know, I think it's fun, why not? I mean, why act your age? My grandmother never acted her age. Neither did my grandfather, really. So I guess I got it from them. Just have fun, enjoy life, and forget about how old you are, what the number is. I have talked to, I think it is something that I think a lot of people my age, we've talked about over the years. It's like, we're the same age as our parents or grandparents now, And you know, when I look at old pictures of them, now my grandmother, I mean, she was kind of hip and cool, but most of the other parents and grandparents, I mean, they really looked like grandparents. They looked, when they were in their 50s, they looked like they were 70 or 80 years old, where people today don't really look their age. I don't think most people, you know, most people are out walking and skydiving and doing whatever, you know, when they're in their 70s and 80s. That didn't happen back very much back when my grandparents were alive. I mean, people just didn't, I think I've said this before, I mean, you rarely ever saw anybody out walking for exercising or running or jogging. I just don't remember that ever. And everybody dressed, older people dressed really like older people, and they wore their hair like older people. I guess that was just a style, just to conform and act your age. And I think maybe part of baby boom generation is to not act your age. I mean, we're still old, we're still, you know, all really old, but, and I'm sure younger generations probably make fun of us and think we're silly for not acting our age, but, you know, what the heck, you know, why not just have fun and act however, whatever age you want to act. All right, so the reason I'm here is because I want to show you these stars that are just up ahead here. Della Reese, I don't know if she ever lived here. Singer, actor, author, minister, touched by an angel. I don't know if she ever lived here. Icon, TV star, singer, humanitarian, Linda Carter. Again, I'm not sure if, not all of the people who have stars here lived here, but most of them, there's a reason why they have the stars here. Lindsay Wagner, most of them did live here, or they did something. They're a big part of the community for some reason or another. But Lily Tomlin and Jane Wagner, I'd always heard that they had lived here. And I thought that was the house where they lived until I got that comment saying that that wasn't really their house, or that they didn't own it. Maybe they just stayed there with their family. So again, I don't know if that's true or not. But so Lily and Jane here. Lily's now in her 80s, which is awesome. One of my favorite people. So this is right on the corner here of Palm Canyon Drive and Alejo Road. All cultures, all religions, all genders, all LGBT, all colors, all ages, all people. Oh, is this okay, May 25th. Join us for a book signing with Hollywood historian Ashley Hoff and a special appearance by LGBTQ icon Bruce Vilanch. Rarely have such good intentions been met with such ridicule. Go behind the scenes of one of the campiest, most popular critical bombs in film history, Mommy Dearest. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so coming May 25th, book signing. They've had some pretty neat people here signing books over the years. As I'm walking back to the car, I just wanted to say thanks to Bob Payne as well. Bob left a comment a week or so ago saying that Memorial Day weekend was coming up soon and was asking if I was going to do a video for Memorial Day. So Bob, this video is kind of for you. I mean, you're the one who reminded me and kind of inspired me to go out and walk today and to see if there was anything I could see that was happening here in Palm Springs for Memorial Day. They are having a flower drop at the Air Museum, the Palm Springs Air Museum, on Memorial Day in the late afternoon. I'm going to try to go to that, but it'll probably be too late to share that in a video for Memorial Day, because by the time I film it, get back home, edit it, maybe the next day, it'd be a day or two after Memorial Day. So I thought I would do this instead. So it's important not to forget, it's important to remember the huge sacrifices. Can you imagine sacrificing your life for your country? These people who have given their lives so that we could have the freedoms that we enjoy here in our country. Love is love. Happy Pride 2024. Okay, we're not there yet, but good. Planning ahead. My little flower shop. Gosh, it's been here forever. And you can see the mural. Oh, and here's another mural. I just happened to notice. What does that say? Palm Springs. Oh, just a bunch of flowers. That's cute. I just realized that I forgot to wear my watch and track my steps, but I do have a pedometer app on my phone, and it says that I walked almost 5,000 steps and walked 2 miles. So not very far, but I've been walking for 2 hours, so I really have been strolling, walking very slowly for 2 hours. It's 8:30 and I got started around 6:30. So happy Memorial Day weekend, everyone, and I hope to see you next time.